Yeah, I'm here with Carlos Tavares, the CEO of Peugeot Citroën, and of course the tariffs have been a massive issue here as well. You don't actually ship cars to the U.S. yet, although I know that you want to. You've got a mobility scheme over there that's working. What do you think about the idea of a trade war that Donald Trump seems to think it's a good one and that America can win?
Well, I think that we need to step back a little bit and make the difference between a final decision and a negotiation position, and maybe there is here some thoughts to be delivered. And at the same time, I think the better we trade all over the world, the better it is for the humanity. And we will soon have 9 billion people on this planet, and I believe that with 9 billion people, it's better that we have an open world where very peacefully we can trade and deliver the best value on the different regions. So I would not get so excited about this. I think it's a negotiation position. Of course, there are some tensions, but on the long run, I think we are much better off if we have an open world and if we take care of the planet and we take care of keeping peaceful relationships across the different regions.
You do have to put a lot of steel, obviously, into your products, and if you start getting tariffs back and forth that could drive up prices that are already expected to rise, what do you think about raw materials costs this year?
Well, it's a great point, and you are right to say that it adds another factor of uncertainty. But to make you smile, I would tell you that the world is already a chaos. So I would tell you, well, a little bit more, a little bit less doesn't change at all. It is already a chaos. I mean, you just have to see how the trading relationships are moving right now in the world. And we, as a global player, we can feel it on all the decisions that we are making, which means that for our companies, agility becomes really something very important to adapt in a very agile way to this very chaotic world. So a little bit more, a little bit less. Anyway, at the end of the day, the companies will protect themselves, and it will make mobility more expensive for the final consumer, which I don't think is a good strategy at the end of the day.
One thing that hasn't been chaotic, at least in a bad way, are sales of your products, of European cars in general have been going up. How do you see European car sales? Are we at a point where we're peaking now?
Possibly, because we have already stated that we believe that in 2018 the European market will be stable, perhaps 0+, but most probably stable. Now, this being said, let's be humble. Let's recognize that over the last 3 years we were always wrong in predicting the European market, and at the end of the day it continued to grow. So that's the reality. We are blessed with very good 2017 results. So far we are moving and preparing for the future, of course.
You have, speaking of preparing the future, the 508 GT behind you, a new product from Peugeot that's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, anyone can see looking at it. What do you expect this to do for sales, for the image of Peugeot, for the DNA of the company?
Well, the 508 is a very important car for Peugeot. It's the flagship of the brand. Very sleek, very sporty, very radical sedan. It brings a lot of pleasure to drive and a lot of pleasure to own. So indeed, it's very important for the Peugeot brand. It also expresses, at this point in time, some level of confidence of the brand. You know that in 2017 we hit a world record in sales, more than 2.1 million cars. People are passionate, people are enthusiastic about what they are doing. We're trying to give them as much freedom as we can so that they can express their talent, and to a certain extent the 508 is the concrete and visible expression of confidence and talent of our people.
Don't you think Americans are going to want to buy this car? I mean, when are we going to see you shipping cars over there, tariff or not?
Well, we have a plan that we announced in the back in the race, and then the push-to-pass strategic plan. We want to come back to the U.S. market because we believe it's a fantastic market with very specific customers. But we want to do it in a step-by-step approach. We recognize that the U.S. consumer is very specific. He has very clear expectations, and we want to understand those expectations because we step in with our products. And this is the reason why we are starting with mobility services in the US, and very soon we'll tell you at which point in time we push the button to bring these gorgeous cars to the US consumer. But yes, it will happen at one point in time, but we will not rush. We don't want to have a quick and dirty comeback to the US. We want to be a very staged plan and very lucid way of coming back to make the U.S. consumers happy about our products.
You put out your numbers last week. Peugeot's doing very well financially. Opel's still making losses, although they were narrower than the street was expecting. What's the problem there? What are you doing to fix that, and how soon do you expect it to be back to profitability?
Well, you are right. In 2017, we were blessed with very good results. 15% up in sales, 20% up in revenue, 23% up in profit. As you said, despite the Opel losses, which represents for us a very big opportunity. We want to become a European automotive champion, bringing together French and German automotive skills. And this is exactly what we are going to do. Of course, turning around Opel is something that we know how to do because we did it for ourselves a few years ago for PSA. So we believe that we have the right plan with the PACE turnaround plan that Michael Loscheller, the Opel CEO, is now implementing. Of course, it will take some time because we need to do it with the people and not against the people. We want to do it with our union partners, and this is what exactly we are doing now. By the way, the plan was built by the Opel employees to turn around their company with our support, and this is very important. We want it to be a German-led turnaround plan, and this is what is now happening. It will take some time, but it will happen. This is something we are very confident on.
In Germany, the courts have just allowed cities to ban diesels if they need to. It looks like that may start to happen now. What do you think about the future of the diesel? Will you continue to make diesel products in small passenger cars?
It's a quite complex issue. The first unfortunate consequence of the diesel mix collapse in Europe is the fact that the CO2 emissions are now increasing. That's an unfortunate consequence of all of this. But we recognize that at the end of the day, the consumers have the final word. There are regulations. We are meeting the regulations all over the place. So we will give the consumers what they want to buy from us. We have a very clear strategy in terms of multi-energy platforms, which means we can assemble on the same assembly line petrol cars, diesel cars, EV cars, electric powered cars. So we can assemble on the same platform, which gives us a lot of flexibility to match the reality of the market demand, which of course is today impossible to predict. So we feel rather comfortable about our strategy facing this uncertainty. But of course, at the end of the day, the reality is the boss is the consumer, and we will sell the consumer what he wants to buy from us. But of course, we also have a responsibility from the governments, from the companies, to give them the appropriate information for them to realize what we are doing. And on that dimension, we have been making very strong improvements in terms of transparency. We have taken initiatives with NGOs like Transport and Environment to have a specific website where customers can go and have a look at the real consumption and emissions of their cars, measured through a specific protocol that is now under the control of Securitas, so that we have this very representative protocol that gives results which are accessible to our consumers.